we are declaring this the thought anthem for summer 2017.
But when I passed out.
Hey. Hey. Oh, when you do it live. This is the song. Wow. Hey. Wow. Oh, get it. Oh, look at this one. Alright, we gotta stop now before YouTube takes this down for inappropriate. Hey guys, I'm Sandrina.
And I'm Talia.
Welcome back to another episode of Teatails,
where we bring you today's knowledge for tomorrow's use.
We have quite a few stories for you guys today, and we're trying to make our videos a lot shorter and more concise so that you guys can get all the information you need, but not spend too much time watching.
Right.
Even though.
Who wouldn't want to spend hours per day? Oh, look at that's a, oh my god. Okay. So as you guys know, we always start with, we're just doing a refresher since this is our first news video back. We do the hard news first, and then we jump on into the hot tea. And what we used to do is start off with Trump. Honestly, in my opinion, it was, I don't know if this is how you feel, but it was just to get it out the way. So you guys know the information, but so we can just get on and move past it, because I don't really enjoy talking about him. But
even though we're neutral, neutral's news source, neutral.
I don't mind talking about him at all. It's just some things I find to be a little more interesting, but
and repetitive. Neutral. Like it's, come on, you guys want something new, right? Something different. So let's do that.
So
let's
we're gonna jump right on in.
Trump's corner.
I'm a little salty. I'm not gonna lie about this story, because I had intentions for greatness, and you may have had the same intentions for this said greatness that I wanted to achieve.
I did, actually.
Yeah,
I did.
Yeah, I was talking to the viewers, but I understand, because we were going to the same greatness together at the same time. Now, we wanted to go to Cuba. We wanted to bon voyage, Cuba. But that's a dub now, well, for the most part. Trump actually had a press conference last Friday in Miami in which I basically was saying he's just going to reverse what Obama had just done, which was open up the relationship back with Cuba. Castro is no longer in dictatorship. Thank you.
Yeah.
There, I could not find the word. So there kind of was, no reason not to have relations with Cuba. And I don't really understand why Trump doesn't want relations with Cuba, but apparently you only have 90 days to travel there, otherwise... Well,
less than that now.
Oh, yeah, it was 90 days as of that Friday, so I guess it would be 83 now.
Right, I'm assuming we'd still be able to travel there. It's just going to be just as difficult as it was last time. And it was already kind of hard to go there. You could only go there for like educational purposes or for... business purposes, things of that nature. Or now it's going to be even harder than that. Yeah, or to give back to the communities. Now it's going to be even harder than that. So I'm sure, God willing, that we'll still be able to go to Cuba. One of Trump's reasonings was that he doesn't think that American dollars should go towards a country that basically was built off of and supports the idea of dictatorship. So...
Pero, you know what? We're neutral, so I'm not going to say what I was about to say. Neutral. That's
another Trump story. He did tweet a few weeks ago that he was being investigated by the FBI in relation to the election and Russia's involvement in the elections. He tweeted that himself and said that this was a true fact. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't believe that the FBI had confirmed that. I know they were looking into the issue, the election in general, but nothing about Trump specifically being under investigation. They hadn't started investigating him yet. I'm not sure if they were going to after Comey's, what was it, it wasn't a trial, was it? It wasn't a trial. No, it was like when Comey was speaking, I don't know the term for it, yes, when he was testifying.
He did mention a lot of things about Trump and his obstruction of justice. Those are the words that the news sources will say. You'll hear that a lot in regards to that. They hadn't started investigating him yet, but there was a lot of talk about it, because if a president is obstructing justice, that is cause for impeachment. Right. But they hadn't verified that he was obstructing justice, if that makes sense.
And as of last week, one of his lawyers, Trump's lawyers, did say that he is in fact not being investigated as a part of this Russia investigation and their involvement in the election again. This entire thing, the Russia involvement in elections, it could be a book by itself. It could literally be a dictionary on its own. So if you guys want some more details on that, email us at talent10@yahoo.com. Just kidding. Yeah. talent10@gmail.com, or DM us on Instagram, tweet us, Facebook message us.
Hold on, girl, what's our Instagram name? It's _Teatails, or is it Teatails underscore?
Teatails underscore. We need to get it together.
Sorry.
We're gonna put it right here on the screen.
Yes.
We'll put it right here for you guys on the screen. So yeah, and we can do a whole video on just that stuff if you guys want us to, because it's a lot and it's very confusing, and yes, but it's kind of interesting too. So yeah, basically we don't know if Trump was lying about being investigated, or if he is no longer being investigated. It wasn't really made clear. We will find out more for you guys on that and let you know.
Yes. The next story we have here is concerning Uber. So as we know, the owner of Uber, the CEO of Uber, and if you don't know what Uber is, we'll explain it. It's a company, basically
it's like a ride-sharing industry.
Yeah, you can call them, they come pick you up, you pay for it. You can also ride with other people. Anyway, moving forward. The company got very big, but the company was, I'm sorry I can't speak, was also under fire recently because of a lot of things that the CEO was doing and the company was doing or wasn't doing during certain times, especially during the travel ban. We did cover this a little while back. But anyway, he has just resigned, and that was due to pressure from investors and the board and stuff like that. He resigned because he said he wants someone to basically take over the company that can bring a new, fresh face to it, in a sense. He doesn't want to have himself as a negative face, from lack of a better word, for the company. And he also wants to be able to better himself before he resumes the position.
Yeah, he was saying that, almost making it sound like this was a break period.
Right.
And this comes actually almost right after one of the biggest issues with the company, which is where a staff member basically wrote a letter to HR stating that the company had been very sexist towards her and almost very sexually demeaning towards her while she was working as well, and she felt like these things needed to be addressed, starting with the CEO. Our next story is about a North Korean student, or a United States student who was studying abroad, I believe, in North Korea. So about a year ago, he was in the country studying. He was tried basically after he stole a piece of paraphernalia. I don't know if he actually stole it, but that's
it was a poster. Basically just a poster on the wall, and he wanted to take it home as a souvenir, as Sandrina said. So they claim he stole it.
Right.
In a sense, he did.
It was showing that he was anti-North Korean government, because of the whatever was on this poster. So they arrested him. There were rumors that he was poisoned in the prison because he was very sick very suddenly. And so he was released about a week ago to come back to the United States. And we are sorry to inform you guys that he has since passed away since he has come back to the country. So I can only imagine what the parents are going through right now. Thoughts and prayers out to them. This is a very traumatizing situation, but this is not the only student who was over there in North Korea dealing with these things. There are still American students dealing with it right now, so hopefully that can be worked out.
Just another piece of information to help you guys understand a little bit. When he came back to the States, he was in a coma. So he had been in a coma for, I want to say at least a couple weeks, if not a couple months. before he came back to the country. And there is video footage of him when he was on trial. You can see that his body is fairly lifeless.
Yeah.
He can't stand on his own. He's being escorted by officers. It is very tragic. So when he came back to the States, he was transported while he was in a coma, and he never left the coma, and he in the end died as a result. So also kind of tying this back to Trump, unfortunately, he is not sure how to handle it. The whole government is not sure how to handle it. They don't know if they should do something to North Korea for this or even pursue the incident, because it's a very touchy subject. The whole country is a touchy subject, and they are doing a lot of nuclear testing, so they don't necessarily want to push some buttons that could potentially endanger the country. Also, to the parents, we don't know a lot of what happened to him. The doctors that did do CAT scans on his brain while he was still alive said that it wasn't as a result of physical abuse on his head. They said you would have seen partial brain damage, although it was all over his brain, which is why they think he was poisoned or given some sort of sleeping pill. And the parents don't want to do an autopsy, so we probably won't find out more information as to what happened to him, although it was very tragic.
Yes, for sure.
Unfortunately.
For our next story, we're going to be talking about one of the attacks in London. One of the many attacks that has occurred in London over the past few months. This one took place near a mosque where a van was driven right near the mosque, attacked about 10 pedestrians that were definitely injured. The driver has since been arrested. However, like we said, this is just another incident occurring after, especially the burning building. And there's honestly major thoughts and prayers. Manchester, like going out to London,
the whole country
they're going through a lot.
Through it.
And they've always tried to come out with kind of a stronger, better, powerful outlook on it. And it's like every time something continues to happen to them. So hopefully,
hopefully something changes. Just to break it down, there was an attack at the Manchester concert. There was an attack less than 2 weeks later at the bridge. There was the fire that took place. There's the attack that just happened at the mosque here. When you look back at it in retrospect, the UK, I'm sorry, not the UK, Britain, the country specifically Britain, has been going through it. Like, it hasn't been a couple months and then an attack, or in a couple months and then something. It's been a couple weeks, 2 weeks, bam, something, bam, which is so crazy. Because we see incidents happen in our country, but they're somewhat isolated, not to say that these are isolated.
My concern with Britain is they're generally a very peaceful country. And especially with the Brexit going on, they are literally going through negotiations for that to take place and for them to separate from the EU. And yet here are these continuous attacks. Like, the Prime Minister is having a very difficult time dealing with things like this, and then it's like, so should we still Brexit? Or very awkward position to be in.
See now, and one thing I'll just tag on to that too. So there was a fire. I'm not sure if you guys had heard about this. There was a very big fire that took place in one of the buildings. It was the Glenfell Towers. I'm not sure if I pronounced that correctly, but so far the death toll is 79 people. The whole building is over 600 people resided in the building. There were over 100 apartments. It was very, very, very crazy. Now, the first thing that happened was, is this a terrorist attack? Is this a terrorist attack? But come to find out, a week and a half later, it was a fire that started from the refrigerator, one of the refrigerators in the building. And although it shed light about certain problems in that area and in that town, in Britain, I'm so sorry, it also just shows how very quickly the media is, and people are to assume terrorism when that might not necessarily be the case. Now, I'm not trying to diminish terrorism and how large it is, because it's very big this day and age, but at the same time, we need to understand that misinformation is very big as well these days. So be careful of what you're taking in and what your news and where it's coming from.
Yes, true that.
Sorry, I had to just speak that real quick.
So a few weeks ago, a shooting took place at the practice for the annual congressional baseball game over in Arlington, Virginia. A strange man came over and basically was asking about the baseball game. When he found out that the players were Republican, he just started shooting like wildfire. The shooter's name was, let me just tell you guys right now, excuse me. The shooter's name was James Hodgkinson. The representative that he shot's name was Steve Scalise, who I believe is a California Congress member. And they were just practicing, like I said, and because this man was an extreme anti-Trump member, he made that very obvious through his social media and through his daily conversations. He decided that the best way to kind of take a stand against Trump was to shoot rapid fire.
Yeah.
2 police officers have been since praised for their heroic efforts during the incident, where they kind of, even though they were injured themselves, were kind of trying to shoot him and make sure that nobody else was being harmed. And I know the New York Times has looked in pretty intently into this James character to see where this kind of all stemmed from, where this came from. So if you guys are interested, we'll link the story from the New York Times down below.
Yes. So yes, in St. Louis, the story goes as follows. There was a car chase that was happening. There were 2 white officers who were chasing 2 white assailants, I believe is how you would call them. Now, what ended up happening is the car crashed right in front of, or very close to, the home of a African-American officer. Now, the officer looks outside, see what's happening, and he, being the officer that he is, he was also off duty, got out of his house in order to assist. Now, he identified himself as an officer because he did bring his firearm with him. Now, what happened is, once the officers realized who he was, they told him to stand and walk towards them, right? But a 3rd officer comes on the scene, opens fire on this black officer, shoots him in the leg, and it literally made no sense. And apparently this is the first case where officers are shooting officers, and it's not just a regular pedestrian that they're attacking.
Yeah, that takes us to a new level.
Right. And the thing is, how are you just coming onto the scene? You see that the 2 officers that are there have it under control. Have it under control. And he's walking towards them, and they don't seem to be afraid. If you don't hear shouting, like, oh, stop, pause, put your weapon down, everything should be fine, dude. But then you come up there not knowing anything, and you just open fire on the man. That literally made no sense. And what the officer said was he feared for his life. Why are you fearing for your life when the other 2 officers that have been there are not fearing for their lives? Made no sense. Just had to touch upon that.
So speaking of police incidents, you all should be familiar with the Philando Castillo case, where the young man was shot after announcing to the officer that he did have a weapon because he was certified to own one. He was asked to reach for his license and registration. As he was reaching for it, the officer shot him, claiming that he thought he was reaching for his weapon.
Right.
There was a child in the car, as well as the
girlfriend.
The girlfriend, yeah, the partner of the victim. And the officer just recently got off with nothing, not a scratch. So
literally nothing. Yet again, another case. There is a Sandra Bland law that is now going to be enacted, I want to say either in August or the upcoming year. Very soon though, very soon. The basis of the law is to promote de-escalation, and it focuses on people with disorders and disabilities, and to look at those people as less of a threat, and instead of automatically assuming that we should shoot or taser them or whatever the case is, we should try and help them first and realize if there is a problem mentally or physically with them, to where we should be acknowledging that. Also, it is looking into precincts and their jailing facilities and having more cameras available and how to treat people while they're in those facilities. So I think, I'm not exactly sure if this is going to help at all, because I feel as though they should have been trained this way from the beginning to de-escalate situations instead of opening fire first or killing someone in their own jail cells. But we'll see. Time will tell, and we'll keep you guys updated as we find out more information.
Right.